Have you thought about how human beings might attain greater levels of happiness and well-being? Positive psychology addresses that issue and is the subject of this video. My name is Bill Hewitt, and I'm Professor Emeritus at Valdosta State University and Adjunct Professor at Capella University. The presentation is narrated by Jeff Hewitt, who is assisting me with the production of these videos.
In 1998, as president of the American Psychological Association, Martin Seligman advocated for psychology to become more positive in its approach. He was soon joined by such researchers as Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who developed the concept of flow, and Barbara Fredrickson, who developed the broaden and build theory of positive emotions to develop the field of positive psychology. Over the years, positive psychology has increasingly incorporated the work of humanists such as Carl Rogers, developmental psychologists such as Urie Bronfenbrenner, and those who studied well-being such as Ed Diener. There are three primary areas within positive psychology that are of most interest to educational psychologists. The first is strengths theory that advocates paying attention to characteristics that people describe as their strong points rather than focusing on shoring up weaknesses. Peterson and Seligman identified 24 signature strengths grouped into 6 virtues of wisdom and knowledge, courage, humanity, justice, temperance or moderation, and transcendence. The free survey to identify the top character strengths is available at the VIA Character Strengths website. In addition to the adult version, there is a youth survey designed for young people aged 10 to 17. This is an excellent way to have people begin to think about the strengths they already possess. A second area of interest to educational psychologists is the importance of positive emotions. Fredrickson's broaden and build theory demonstrated that educators need to look for positive thinking, positive attitudes, and positive behavior because they lead to positive emotions that in turn are connected to positive emotions. When people experience these positive emotions, they are more likely to be open and creative when addressing challenges. This increase in experiencing positive emotions then builds upon itself, creating reserves that lead to the development of resilience. Some school-based activities that educators can use to increase positive emotions include having learners write down 3 good things that have happened to them, write gratitude letters to parents, engage in practicing kindness, or engage in mindfulness activities before a test or an athletic event. A third area of interest to educational psychologists is Seligman's PERMA theory of flourishing and well-being. When Seligman first introduced the field of positive psychology, he focused on increasing happiness. However, after considerable research completed by himself and others, he reworked his approach to focus on flourishing and well-being. Each of the letters in the PERMA theory represent an element that Seligman believes is essential for an individual to flourish and build resilience against anxiety, depression, or other mental health challenges. The P stands for positive emotions, which we have already discussed. This element has received considerable emphasis from positive psychology researchers. The E stands for engagement, which occurs when a person experiences what Csikszentmihalyi described as flow. This happens when one uses signature strengths to address a challenging task that one finds interesting. One way for educators to help learners to identify a strength is to have them remember times when they experienced flow, when it felt like time stood still while they were engaged in a task. The R stands for positive relationships. Human beings are innately social and feel positive emotions when they make authentic connections with other people. Sometimes this just means hanging out. But educators can facilitate development of this activity by having learners engage in cooperative learning or group-based project learning. The M stands for meaning and purpose, by which Seligman means living a purposeful existence. One way to do this is to belong to or support something larger than oneself. 2 earlier researchers emphasized this element. Erich Fromm emphasized that human beings search for meaning in their lives, and Maslow described this as transcendence, which is one of the Peterson and Seligman virtues. Some activities that educators can use to develop this element might be to have learners engage in email reflections with parents about what makes a meaningful life, or to have class discussions about ethics versus pleasure in literature classes. Another activity might be to have a thought for the day activity that has learners consider quotations from famous people. The Brilliant Star framework has been used to develop just such a list of positive quotations used in a Thought for the Day activity. The A stands for Mastery Achievements, by which Seligman meant developing a sense of accomplishment or mastery in terms or domains that are meaningful to the individual. One way to encourage this process is to have learners set what Carol Dweck discusses as mastery learning goals rather than performance goals. Her work on helping children and youth develop a growth mindset supports this type of activity. Another activity that educators can do is to help children and youth identify potentials or areas within which they can develop strengths. There are a number of frameworks such as the Search Institute's Developmental Assets, or the International Baccalaureate's Learner Profile, or the Brilliant Star Framework that provides learners with opportunities to identify domains of potentials. Finally, it is important for educators to provide opportunities for learners to reflect on the knowledge and skills they have developed. This contributes to a development of self-efficacy that Bandura shows impacts future achievement. Seligman's leadership in this endeavor has been quite remarkable, as there are now enough empirical studies published in positive psychology journals, as well as other referred journals, to support multiple meta-analyses investigating the effectiveness of positive psychology interventions. This is a notable achievement for a field that was formed only 2 decades ago.